Let's make some noise after what a worship service that we've had. Amazing, amazing. Before we get started, though, I want us to get real loud and make a lot of noise and show a lot of love to our North Campus. Come on. All right. Yeah. Now, let's show an extra special love for our online campus. Let's show them some love. Hallelujah. Well, you guys know we're in a series on LOL, laugh out loud. And I want you to know there ain't nothing better than the joy of the Lord. Nothing better at all than joy of the Lord. And tonight we're going to be talking about the joy of connecting. And the reason I'm going to be talking about the joy of connecting because we believe that the local church should be irresistible. Absolutely irresistible. We think that people should wake up on Sunday morning and say, I want to go to the church instead of going to the lake. And I love going to the lake, I'm telling you. And the reason we believe that, because we know this, that when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he was irresistible. People loved Jesus. And then you had people who hated Jesus. You either loved him or you hated him, but you never ignored him. Never ignored him. So we believe that we want to create an environment that is irresistible to where people want to come and get plugged in and get connected, because I know that joy and true joy comes from connecting with other people. I want to share a story with you about just when I was locked up in prison. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of you guys have heard my story, some of you haven't. But I'm not going to get into all of it. But I know this, and I know when the moment that I accepted Jesus into my life, I felt a joy. I felt a peace. I felt a happiness. I felt freedom for the first time in my life. But I do want you to know that I still had a battle, and that battle was going on inside me, and that battle was going on in my heart, and it was called wavering. I would waver here, and I would waver there, and I still had and I never understood, and I couldn't understand it. So I really want you to picture this environment, okay? Picture this just for a moment. I'm in prison, I'm locked up, and a guy comes to me and he says, what are you doing on Thursday night? I'm thinking, nothing. What are you doing? You know, absolutely got nothing to do. My schedule's free. And he said, man, we got some volunteers that come in on Thursday night. They come every Thursday night faithful, like 5 different guys. And we come in and we get together and we sit up in a circle and we take up prayer requests and we have prayer. And man, we just open up the Bible and we just start sharing some things. And man, it's really good. You ought to come out and try it. So I'm thinking, I knew in my heart there was something more that was missing. And I couldn't get it because I was studying, I was praying. Man, I was going to church on every time somebody would come in to preach in a large group setting. I would come and sit there in my seat and think, man, that was good. And then I would leave and think, is that it? There's got to be more. Man, there's got to be more. So I went down here to this group, and in prison, I don't know if anybody's ever been there. If you haven't, I advise you really not to go. Just take my word on it, okay? Take my word on this. When you're in an environment like that and you're around a bunch of men, you got an image you have to keep. I mean, you just got this image you got to keep, and it's like, leave me alone, dude. Don't look at me, kind of deal. You're always aware of your surroundings. Well, I get in this group, and man, I sit down and I'm studying it out and just trying to read people and what's really taking place. Is this real? And these guys started sharing, these volunteers started sharing, and then these inmates started sharing, and then it came to me, and I said, I ain't sharing nothing. And that's my first week. Week 2 comes around. I shared just a very little, but I want you to know what was taking place in between week 1 and week 2. Man, God was dealing with me. Man, there was things coming up for me from when I was a kid, and I'm thinking, Lord, man, I even forgot about that. Man, I'd forgot all about that, and stuff started just coming up into my heart and into my mind. I'm thinking, I can't say nothing about that. I can't speak about that. About the third week, I go in there and it comes around to me. And let me tell you something. When it got to me, that whole group was about me that night. Because, I just started crying like a baby, snots flying, tears flying. And I'm thinking, oh, God, they're going to think I'm a sissy in here, you know. I'm freaking out. And I'm like, man, God's doing some amazing things. And when I got up from there, you talking about a freedom that I had never felt in my life. Man, I had really been set free. Man, God was doing some amazing things in my life, and it took place in that little bitty group. That little bitty group of building this relationship. Let me tell you something. There was never meant to be a Lone Ranger Christian. God never intended for us to be alone as Christians. Listen to what Acts tells us. He's in chapter 2. Man, it's amazing. Pastor got up and he's talking about Acts. Man, wasn't that some good? Well, I'm telling you, God's good. Acts chapter 2, verse 42, we're going to start. It says, they devoted themselves to the apostles, teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Verse 43, it says, and everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. Verse 44, it says, all believers were together. Everybody say together. Together. And had everything in common. Everybody say in common. In common. Verse 45, it says, they sold their property and their possessions, and they gave it to everyone who had need. Verse 46, it says, every day they continued to meet. What? Together. They meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes, and they ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily to those who were being saved. Daily to those who are being saved. This is a church right here that was truly doing life together. Truly doing it together. Now, we're not telling you this so you can know Jesus like I do. We're telling you this so you can get with a community that knows Jesus. It's part of being connected with the people who know Jesus. Because there's always more that God has for his people in life. And I can share story after story after story after story of what God has done in my life over the last 12 years. Now, I'm not talking about years of my life. I'm just talking about the last 12 years of my life of connecting with people. And I'm not talking about connecting in a large group of people. I'm talking about just connecting with true believing people outside the walls of a church. I believe with everything that is in me, man, this stuff is important. This is right. This here prepares me for what's out there every time. But whenever I get around my connection of believers, I get a little bit of this fresh air that I can breathe to know that, man, I'm not alone. Man, I'm messed up, and I'm not the only one that's messed up, because when we really get right down to it, every one of us kind of messed up in our own way. I was riding down the road. Listen, there's how messed up I am, and people at work know how messed up I am. They hired a new guy just the other day. First day they put him with me. We come back in, and this was just yesterday. We come back into the... I'm serious. That's not a joke. That's for real. We walk through the door, and the HR guy says, what are you doing with the new guy? I said, I'm training him. I got this. He goes and he looks at the other guy. Now they're messing around me, but they're saying, man, why are you putting him with Bobby? He said, he's going to corrupt this guy. He's messed up. Here's the funny thing is, he's messed up too. He just don't know it yet. But you get into the church and the early church of Acts. This is people that devoted themselves to fellowship. They devoted themselves to fellowship. And a lot of times, if we try to define fellowship and what true fellowship is, we'll try to define it the way a lot of churches define it. And that's coming in and having a cup of coffee and having some donuts. Now I don't want to take anything away from coffee and donuts, especially from our hospitality team, because you rock. I love coffee. I love the coffee. I mean, I get coffee. I mean, I can get going. I love coffee and I love donuts. You know, them are great tools. And I'm talking great tools that lead into fellowship. But fellowship is much deeper than that. It goes a whole lot deeper than that. And we can follow and get the true meaning of this fellowship in the Acts in chapter 2. Because in verse 43, it says they were witnesses to signs and wonders together. They had the same spiritual history. The same spiritual history. To have true fellowship, we need to share spiritual experiences together. We need to share these things together. Because I can experience signs and wonders by myself. God can do some amazing things in my life by myself. But what will happen is, if I'm alone, then I'm going to start wondering, was that really God? Was that really truly what God is doing? Is that God, or is it just the way things are happening? So then we start to doubt God. But if we're experiencing spiritual experiences together with other individuals in our life, we start giving God glory, because all the glory goes to Him. And then we're able to see exactly what He's doing in my life, in others' lives, in the lives that's around us. Because you know what? Whenever I'm in a group of people, and maybe I'm not feeling God the way that the group's feeling God, but I see God moving in their life, and He may not be moving in mine at the time, but He's moving in theirs, and I can see those signs, and I can see those wonders, and I can see these experiences that they're having. You know what it does? It builds me up. It gives me hope. It gives me hope to knowing that my God is going to be there for me just like He is them. Let me share another experience with you. Same group. 2 years later. I've done a long time. I was gone for a long time. Okay? Seriously. I got to know these guys on first name basis. For real. It's bad. I probably just said that, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't take nothing from it, because everything that's happened from that point on has got me to where I'm at today. And I give God glory for it. But I've seen Him do some many signs and some many wonders. And I experienced some spiritual experiences that I've never experienced in my life, that I could only say, wow, God, that had to be You. Man, I remember it was my second, third Christmas gone. And it was around November, and I called home. I remember calling home, and I wouldn't call home all the time, because you just can't do that, you know. And I'd call once a week or something. And I remember calling home, and I talked to my wife, and she's upset, and look, I'm having to put this bill off to pay this bill. I'm 2 months behind on this one. Then I got to get this one caught up to catch this one up. Man, kids ain't going to have no Christmas. And I had 2 babies. I mean, they're babies. And you know, she said, I can't even afford to buy them anything. I don't know what we're going to do. And you know, me trying to say, well, you know, you got the greatest gift of all. They got love, you know, just, you know, they're all right, you know. And I'm trying to give hope and give things like that. And deep inside, I'm thinking, man, this is bad. And I thought I had it bad. My family's got it bad. Man, I've got 3 meals. I've got electricity. I've got water. I've got TV if I want to watch it. I've got a bed to lay in. And my wife and my kids don't even know how they're going to pay the electric bill, how they're going to get anything. And it really hit me then. Man, this is tough. This is bad. And I'm praying, God, do something. Do something. What you don't know is this. My wife wasn't saved. As a matter of fact, my wife didn't accept Jesus until after I got out of prison, because I walked up to the altar with her. So God was doing some amazing things in our lives. And it came time for Thursday to roll around, and it was time for group. Man, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go because, man, I was down. I was down, I was out, I was struggling. I wanted to be left alone. Has anybody felt like that, man? You just get into this pity party, Everything just that couldn't go wrong is going wrong. Everything around you feel like it's falling apart, and you have no control of what's taking place. I mean, I'm talking zero control of what's taking place. And you're like, man, I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. Man, I as a matter of fact, I just want to smack the next person that comes up to me. You know, you just get to that point. That's where I was at. Thursday rolls, you know, it come time to go to group. And I've made myself, I said, man, I've got to go. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to force myself to go down here. If I ain't talking to nobody, you know, you get that rebellious side. You get this stuff going in. I'm going to go. All right, God, I'll go, but I ain't talking to nobody, you know. Don't expect me to even shake their hand. You know, that's kind of the mentality. I get down there, and these guys right out the Bobby, what's going on? What's wrong with you? They had gotten to know me, that they knew there was something bothering me. I said, man, I really don't want to talk about it right now. Well, we start sharing in group, and when it come to me to share, I didn't say nothing. All I said is, man, remember my wife and kids. And then I broke down again. Man, I turned into God saved my soul and turned me into a crybaby. It made me mad. I got mad at it. I started crying, and I'm like, man, you know, my wife, she's struggling. My kids, their babies, they're not going to be able to have a Christmas. My wife's upset. She's tore up, and man, I'm tore up because there ain't nothing I can do. Old man sitting beside me, he says, the rules, and I was in federal prison. The rules in federal prison are strict. I'm talking strict on volunteers. Very strict. And he broke every rule that could ever be broken. He tells me, he says, I'm not allowed to have contact with you or your family. The rules say that, or they can strip me from my badge to coming in here. And I'm thinking, why are you telling me this? That's not helping me. But I said, well, you know, it's the thought that counts. And that's what I'm thinking. You know, well, at least he's thoughtful enough to think. He reaches me his Bible, and he's got a pen in his Bible, and he says, but the rules doesn't say anything about my wife contacting your family. Write your wife's phone number down. He said, with that, could have got that man in so much trouble. Do you know that my kids had a great Christmas that year? A great Christmas. I'm telling you that to give God the glory, but I'm telling you that would not have happened if I would have laid in the bunk and just soaked it up and laid there and said, I'm not going to be around nobody. I don't want to be around no people. I don't want to be around the happy people. I just want to lay here in my pity. No, I got up and forced myself, and when I did, God done something amazing in my life, in my family's life. He moved in a mighty way. It is important to connect with people. And you'll start experiencing spiritual experiences together. And it's amazing because you know what? Everybody in that group knew what took place. They seen me go from 0 to 80 like boom, boom, quick. Wow, did that just happen? Did that just happen? It happened. You know why? Because of the Lord. Put people in my life to make those things happen. And you know, that's been years ago. I could go on and on and on and on. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to get into it because it's a little premature. But I can tell you right now what God's doing in my life right now is amazing, and it all come from a small group. God put the right people in my life. He connects us here. He connects us there. He puts us here. I mean, he has uprooted my family and put us in Tennessee, what I would call a foreign country, okay? But I left a foreign country because we come from Kentucky, so we're kind of like foreign together, you know? Foreign and born together, right? And I say foreign because I really didn't know anybody, but God is doing amazing things, and things are starting to unfold in our lives right now of what God's doing. And it all come from connections. Connecting people. Not just people, but God's people. With his people. Listen to what else happened in the early church there in that scriptures that we was reading. They shared their material possessions together. in verses 44 and 45. Our caring and our sharing must go beyond our nice words. Sometimes we got to get in our pockets a little bit to show people we care. Because sometimes when we can meet a physical need, that spiritual need's a little bit easier to feed. Because you're more apt to, if you're hungry, it's hard to receive what God has for you until you're full. So sometimes we have to meet that physical need and to show and get in our pocket just a little bit to meet that need so God can meet another need. And that's the true need that's being needed. Y'all, is this good stuff or no? I can't see the back row. Y'all back here in the back. I got the light in my eyes. Hallelujah. They shared their lives together, both in communion and just having meals together. They shared their life together. And that's in verse 46. I want to tell you something. This is a church that was truly doing life together. Man, we've got all kinds of groups going on. We got all kinds of ways for people to connect. And I'm telling you right now, there's nothing more joyful than getting connected. At all. Nothing more joyful. As a matter of fact, is anybody from our life group that was in life group with me last semester? Yep. There's a joyful one. Yep. Hey, we had a good time, didn't we? We had a blast. And we did life together in our life group. And I've met lifelong friends through the life group that we done last semester. And you know what? I went through life group. I went through another life group prior to that one. And when I went through that life group, I was a mad individual. And you're thinking, well, man, you've been telling story after story of how you've connected with people and God's done amazing things. And you know what? He has. But, I still live life, and life's still tough, and I still get mad sometimes. And that's why I need to connect with people, and that's why I need to be walking with people. That's why I need to be doing life with other people, because if I don't do life with other people, man, my life becomes a mess every time because I isolate myself. Again, I told you, walking with Christ has never been meant for a Lone Ranger. He never meant us to be meant for a Lone Ranger Christian. I read a story. I'm going to read the story to you. A young feller, young feller. That's that Kentucky stuff, man. Young feller. That young feller was fed up. It says, he was fed up with his church. So he was aggravated. He was tired. He was fed up with the church. Man, I don't know if anybody's ever been fed up with church or just people. Man, I've been there. I know what it's like just to get fed up with everything and just say, man, nothing's going right. I just want to quit and give up on everything and be done with it. Well, this is the way this young man was. He was just fed up. So he goes to seek a little bit of wisdom. He goes to an older Christian man, and he goes in and he starts spilling his guts, and he's telling this old guy, this is happening, and this is going on, and I'm mad about this, and I'm mad about that. And I think I'd be better off if I just left the church and done this Christian thing on my own. And as he's speaking, the old man, they're sitting by the fire. The old man takes some tongs. I say it right, tongs? He takes these tongs and he reaches in the fire and he pulls out a coal. And he lays the coal down by the stove. He don't say a word. And the little young feller standing there watching the coal. When he pulled it out, it was glowing red. And it glowed red for a short time. And after a short time, the embers started getting darker and darker and darker until the coal went black. And as the coal went black, he took the tongs, he picked it back up, he stuck it back in the fire. And immediately, it started glowing again. That young man knew exactly what he was saying. You know what he done? He stuck it out because he knew that your full strength comes grouped together than it does being separated. And just as coals, just as them hot coals, if you pull them out, grow cold, I'm telling you now, when we pull out from our people, we grow cold. We grow cold. Listen to what the wisdom of Scripture says in Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9. It says 2. Everybody say 2. 2 are better than what? 1. 2 are better than 1 because they have good reward for their labor. 2 are better than 1. For if they fall, one will be there. One will lift his companion. But woe. Everybody say woe. Woe. But woe to him who is alone when he falls. He has no one to help him up. Then he goes on to say again, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And then he goes and tells us, he says, though many may be overpowered by another, though one may be overpowered by another, but two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. 2 are better than 1, he says, but woe to that one who's trying to stand alone. Woe to that one who's trying to do life alone. Woe to the one that's not really wanting to get plugged in and getting connected. I'm telling you right now, I'm tired of having the woes in my life. I want the wins. And I know that there are power and there are strength in numbers every time. I want to be connected and plugged in. I want to have the joy of the Lord. You've heard the joy of laugh out loud. Man, I want to be that one that laughs out loud. I like to laugh, okay? I guess you're probably sitting there thinking, you like to make me laugh too. I like laughing. I enjoy it because every time I laugh, I feel good. I feel great. And when I get mad, I'm just mad. I don't even want to laugh. I'm ready to beat somebody up, you know? And that's just not who I want to be. I want to be that person that says, man, that smile that just goes a long way. I want to be that joy. And I know that when I get connected in groups and get connected with people, there's joy in that. If you take somebody and you ask it, and somebody, if they ask you and it feels like their life's falling apart, every time, if their life is just a mess, and you say, man, are you connected in a group? Are you connected with people? Is somebody doing life with you? They're going to be like, no. Now listen, I do life with my wife and my kids. I do life with them. I'm with them. But you know, I need something more than just my wife and my kids. Man, I need somebody else to do life with me. I need somebody that when I'm down, they're lifting me up. When I'm struggling, they're praying for me. And whenever they're down, I'm lifting them up. When they're struggling, I'm able to pray for them. That's what we need in life. And that is what God intended. And that's exactly what the early church was doing. That's what they were doing. Man, they were meeting in the church. They were meeting in the temples. And outside of that, they were meeting in their homes. They were having meals together, eating together. And there ain't nothing better than getting together with a bunch of people and eating food. I mean, nothing better. You can't go wrong with that. Never. And when you start eating, man, there's walls that start breaking. Because you know, when you can eat in front of somebody, they become family. You doing it? Hey, listen, you eat with me, you're going to find out. I'll put some food away, and I don't care who's around. We'll get to know each other quick. No. And walls start coming down. When them walls start coming down, healing starts taking place in people's lives. Listen to what Proverbs chapter 27, verse 17 tells us. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another person. You know, snowflakes are very frail. They're very frail. But I'm going to tell you, when you get a bunch of them together, they'll stop traffic. Every time. If you're down in the South, they'll shut down cities. I've seen it shut Texas down. But they're very frail. You know, listen, we're not frail people. But when we come together, we become very, very powerful in the name of Jesus. Very powerful. And the more we're connected And the more that we're plugged in, the stronger we become. The stronger we become. And there's many ways. Oh, man. Join a group. Join a small group. Oh, listen. I brought this up here. I had to bring this up here because, man, first of all, I was looking for my picture. But this is a good-looking book. But not only is this a good-looking book, I mean, there's a lot of ways of getting connected and bringing joy in your life. A lot of different groups. Man, there's marriage groups. Whew, boy, I probably need one of those. There's a prayer team. There's seasoned disciples. Model man group. That's probably what I need, a model man group. Man, there's some good stuff. Horse lovers group, youth group, life group. Life groups are awesome. There's the Emmaus Walk retreat. Man, that is like life-changing. I want to tell you something real quick. I don't want to abbreviate on it too much, but God is doing amazing things in my life right now from somebody I met in a small group at that Emmaus Camp Walk thing. I went blank, man. Whew. There's Propel Women, 1828. Yeah, all right. Yeah, the Photoshop group. There's a shooting group. I will tell you this. Before you go through the shooting group, go through life group. If you're anything like me. Because I was mad when I went through life group. You shouldn't have given me a gun. There's a hiking group. Man, there's all kinds of groups, and they're fun things. And I'm going to tell you something. This is how to get really connected and really fulfill what God has for you. I believe with everything that's in me, I have found my purpose in life. And it's been through connecting through what God has. So I'm going to encourage you. If you don't want to get in a group, start a group. And you're like, maybe I don't know how to start a group. There's a perfect model. It's Acts chapter 22, or chapter 2, verse 42. Model what they did. Do life together. If you're not doing life with somebody, find somebody to do life with. Get connected with somebody to do life with, because you was never meant to be doing life alone at all. God has so much more. He's a God, I believe he's a God of more. He has more in store for us. But just like this, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I stayed alone. I wouldn't be going where I'm going if I'd have stayed alone. I got to where I'm at, and I'm going to get to where I'm going because I keep striving to connect with people and to do life with somebody. No matter how messed up they think I am, because, it really don't matter. It really doesn't. We all got problems. And that's one of the things you're going to find out when you get connected with people and you really start sharing. You're not alone. I don't care what kind of problem you have. I don't care what you've been through in your life. Man, and you may be thinking, Bobby, you really don't know what I've been through. Listen, you only heard a little bit of my story. You don't know what I've been through. And God's done some amazing things in my life. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he can set me free, he'll set anybody free. I'm going to ask you to bow your head.